Hello, everybody, and welcome to Late Night Unite. Kirk Snacks Dubé, and today I have with me Crowley from Revenant eSports, the India region representing team at the World Championships. Crowley, thanks for taking some time today. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. Very excited.
I'm glad you're here, and you have such a unique backstory to how you made it to Pokemon Unite. But let's get the easy thing out of the way here. Crowley, where does that gamer tag come from? How'd you come up with that?
So if you're familiar with the artist Ozzy Osbourne, he has a
Mm-hmm.
song called Mr. Crowley. So the name comes from there. It's actually Mr. Crowley, but in it always has been Mr. Crowley. But in Pokemon, your name tag can't be much more than a certain number, so it has to be Crowley only.
There, you, well, there, you go. Mr. Crowley. That's what we'll go with for the rest of this ride. Then, um, look, we know you're obviously elated to be going to the Pokemon World Championships. We know that Revenant Esports has qualified for it. You're the bottom path attacker for them, playing a bunch of Ninetales in the regional finals. But before we get into Pokemon Unite, you have a pretty illustrious Dota 2 career. And I'd love to talk to you a little bit about that. How did you get into Dota 2, and more importantly, how did you decide? Wow, I'm pretty good. Let's make this thing. Let's make a push into the esports world, because I was looking through your accomplishments here, and there's a lot of first place finishes under the Crowley Dota 2 Liquipedia.
Well, so I started gaming when I was really young. I'm 25 now. So I'm playing esports since I was like 11 or 12. And most of it was competitive esports. From the age of 13, I've been playing like small cafe level tournaments, school, college level tournaments, like not big money per se, but it's just, I always had the thing to compete. So I started off with Counter Strike, but eventually moved on to Dota, Call of Duty, all of those games. So I played everything, every genre. So I like Dota the most at that time. So I continued playing that game for like 10 years if you count Dota 1, Dota 2 together. So I played from the original Dota, then later on moved on to Dota 2.
And how did you find your footing in Dota 2? Obviously, you enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm looking at these finishes here, and you've got some first place finishes, some really like qualifier and tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 qualifier level tournament finishes from 2017 all the way through 2020. Um, how did you get that jump start in 2017 and go, okay, this is more than just me and my friends getting together at a cafe level tournament and going into kind of those bigger stages that maybe people, when they think esports, they see?
Well, esports wasn't really that developed in the country back then. Like what you see online is just it's after a long time. Like
Mm-hmm.
tournaments before that have no record because they were like very small, like 1,000, 1,200, $1,500 tournaments, not much. So 2016, 17 is when the big tournaments started coming in, the ESLs, the PGLs, and everything started doing tournaments in the country. How I started is I was probably the best player in my area, in my cafe, and my friends suggested me. My brother taught me how to play the game,
Mm-hmm.
and we both used to like go to tournaments for fun, and we were actually winning. And he's like a job type of a guy. I was a school type of guy. We were not trying hard, but we were still winning. So when there were like tournaments which had really good money, people told us that we might actually be good at this. Why not try to go pro? So yeah, we started winning everything. I think I have the longest streak in the country in any game of like winning tournaments continuously in a row. Like for 5 6 years in a row without losing.
I
So,
mean, that is 6 years. That's an unprecedented amount of victories here. What was the first team that kind of gave you a shot and let you break into the Dota 2 scene? We'll say in an official capacity.
uh, our scene wasn't that big. So if you're familiar with the Dota 2 scene, there's a like how we have rank systems over here. So there people get noticed by something called MMR. So
Okay.
there's a web online where if you're a high ranked player, people notice you, and like people know that you're hot shit in the market because you're like really high rank, and being high rank in a game like Dota is like, wow, this guy's good. So that's how I met my teammates. Like I found like equally high ranked players, and we started like meeting in real life, and eventually we won two, three, four tournaments, and then we got picked up by a sponsor. So I did not join a team. We made our own team through a group of friends who were playing online, and then we got picked up by an org.
That's awesome. And what was that org that picked you up, that picked up the ragtag squad that you put together?
It was called Entity Gaming. Today it is called Entity Gaming. Back then it was, there were like multiple orgs which don't exist today anymore, so no point naming them, I guess.
Fair.
So
To, totally fair. Totally fair. But what a run. I mean, all the way through 2022. I am seeing that you did, when you retired from Dota 2, it was a transition. It says here to League of Legends Wild Rift. Is that still something that's on your plate right now, Mr. Crowley?
yeah, I did play that game in between, but I left Dota because the scene in the country died. No one like Dota was the only MOBA in the country which people were playing, and the scene just stopped, and like there were no tournaments anymore. So League of Legends Wild Rift was supposed to release, but it didn't due to XYZ COVID reasons and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And so it didn't release. So that scene we didn't pursue. So we waited for something else to come. We were playing Wild Rift, waiting for it to release, but it kept on delaying. We were playing on a sea level, but it was just not released in the country. We were like using VPNs and stuff to play.
Gotcha.
So after Pokemon Unite came, this game it's like very easy to grasp, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our country, the majority of the esports population is FPS gamers. So MOBA is not so very big over here. So, but after Pokemon Unite, it's people have a connection with Pokemon, right?
Right.
From their childhood, and people don't really think of this as MOBA. They think of this as a fun Pokemon game, because the standard MOBA concepts are not there in this game, like towers and
Mm-hmm.
tower diving and all that stuff. Well, it's there, but it's not like towers don't attack you and all that stuff. Jungling is easier,
Yep.
so it's pretty easy to have a grasp. So a lot of people play. Like if I'll tell you this, there were a lot of rules regarding the Indian region, so a lot of players couldn't play. So we only had like 60, 70 teams registering. Because of the rules, I think about 100 teams couldn't play
Wow. Okay.
because they were either under 18 or they were from a banned region or something like that.
Okay.
So that's a lot of people who play Pokemon in India right now.
Right. No, I did not know that, and I think a lot of people listening in will be surprised to hear that as well. Um, to kind of touch on the complexity a little bit, it seems to me, or at least from my experience, and maybe you can elaborate, is it seems on the surface level it's a very simple game to grasp. It has some very clear objectives, but on a more tactical level, when you get to the higher competitive matchups and to the other competitive teams, it seems like there's a lot more nuance and a lot more strategy that can be employed. Is that something you found, or have your Dota 2 days just completely washed you to the point of, yay, this isn't as complex as people drum it up to be?
So I'm in a team with other MOBA players as well who haven't played Dota. They also find the game at times complex where I don't. So the Dota has an impact on me that I do not find this game hard. But what you said is also true. When you play at the highest level, it's not the basic of this. To grasp the basic of this game is very easy, but you know when to push the rotom, when to goal, when to leave the dreadnought, to not fight, know your advantages, and all that stuff is very important for
Um,
some. Yeah, continue.
Oh, I was just gonna say, some things, because I was watching the India regional coverage, and a lot of unique choices coming out of that region as compared to NAEU. Japan, even OCE, APAC. And one that really sticks out to me is actually the Pokemon that you played through the grand finals, and that was Ninetales as the bot path attacker. Tell me a little bit about that choice. Is it more, I just really like this character, I have good footing with it, or did it play into your composition, or did you say, I want to play this, and then they built around you? Kind of how does that conversation go down, and how did you end up playing that Pokemon in the regional finals?
So it has a lot of factors. Like we started boot camping and scrimming all the other teams a month ago, and we generally don't scrim Indian teams. We usually play versus, if you know the APAC winners, No Lucario and
Mm-hmm.
RNS. We usually scrim them like flat five, flat sevens a day or something. So we know what can work versus our country people and what can work versus them. So we have a clear idea of what hero we want to use, what Pokemon we want to use versus certain teams. So in Ninetales, we figured that Indians don't really know how to play against Ninetales, and no one's really exploiting it. So we just kept on picking it. I mean, we had two, three more comps we had practiced, but we never got to use because we went tested in our games.
Yeah, I mean, because why stop doing what's winning, right? At that point, it's the biggest tournament. You need to get first place to qualify, so keep running it down. Do you like playing Ninetales, or is it just, hey, it's a Pokemon that we know we'll be able to exploit, so I'll take the helm on this one?
I mean, to be honest, I like Pikachu the most in attacker role. I was originally a jungler in my old team. I shifted to attacker in the new team. So everyone usually starts with Pikachu, and Pikachu was the meta back then. But since Blissey is in meta, everyone just runs over you, and playing Pikachu isn't just fun anymore. So it's either Venusaur or Ninetales. So yeah, it's fun. I mean, I don't know if the Pokemon is fun. Winning is fun. So any Pokemon is fine.
Well, that's the good news, right? If we can keep this game growing, there's so many Pokemon. The number of Pokemon they can choose from to add to the game is enormous. So
Yeah.
we're bound to get a character that you enjoy. On that note, I don't know if you're a big Pokemon fan, but if you could add a Pokemon to the game, what would it be, and what position would it be? Would it be a speedster, defender, attacker?
Nah, I'm not really much of a Pokemon fan, but I heard Blaziken is fun. Like I've watched the anime a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
not much. I remember like fragments of my childhood, so that's the only Pokemon that which comes in my mind right now. I see you're a very big Pokemon fan right by your background, so
Yep.
don't judge me.
Well, Blaziken is definitely a choice, and I honestly might be one that might be on the horizon from all the data miners and stuff that are out there throwing their information around. So maybe you'll get to relive those fragments of those childhoods slowly but surely. Going into the regional finals and finding out that India is going to get one team. What did that mean for you and the player, the people you were playing with and practicing with? I mean, you made a team switch, which means you at least had an idea of what it would take to qualify and where you needed to be to do that. How did that process come together? Obviously, we know you've qualified now, but there's some steps leading up to that moment, of course.
Yeah, it was a lot of factors actually. My whole team, we were all Dota players actually. I had two more players with me who were playing Dota, and two players who came from Wild Rift, and they were not like enjoying Pokemon as much. So we went like trying hard, but we were losing also. So I didn't like losing, so I had to bail from the team. That time we didn't know that Worlds was coming and all, and that time all the regionals were announced for every other region, like the monthly finals and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and India wasn't included earlier on. So everyone in the scene was kind of like demotivated. So at the time we had like third party tournaments in our country, like decent money, not much, $4,000, $3,000, like decent amount of tournaments, which is like okay for a new game, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And people were like really demotivated that we were like kept out of the circuit, and it was like a really surprise and a breath of fresh air for the scene when we were included in Worlds. And like everyone was like really motivated. I could see like you would queue the game online at like 7:30 in the morning, you would get a game within 2 seconds. People were like trying that hard.
Yep. And it's this team that brought together Revenant eSports. I'm assuming that's an org has picked you all up or something like that. But is this another story of this is a team that you kind of brought together or were a part of bringing together? You saw some success, and because of that, you got the org, and then that's what transitioned kind of into the regional finals.
So this team was winning before I joined the team, and then in between they had a slump of like 1 or 2 months, and then one of their players left, and then I came, and then we started winning again. We won like 8 out of 10 tournaments we played, and then Revenant contacted us. I mean, they were already in talks with many orgs.
Mm-hmm.
Like every tier 1 org in the country wanted this team as their Pokemon roster. So we had to choose between all the good orgs. Where should we go? How should we proceed? And all that stuff, you know?
Yeah, no, that's
Mhm.
that, I mean, that's exciting to hear that people are or organizations are seeing the value in Pokemon Unite. You know, whether it's through the strength of the IP, whether it's through the strength of the monetary support that the developers are putting in. But maybe you could shed some light of how those conversations go when you're trying to select an organization, when you get to choose the organization that you bring yourself into the fold of. What are some of the just kind of high level considerations? Because I think there's a lot of players that, you know, might be on that cusp. Maybe you're seeing these types of offers come through, but you know have never been in those shoes before, like Mr. Crowley has with Dota 2, for example.
Yeah, so none of my players have ever been in an org before. This is their first esports experience, so they've just kept the decision on me. Like, you do your thing, we trust you. You choose the org, you give the calls, we'll just play our game. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to do anything outside the game. They know they know that I've been in the scene for a long time, and they trust me to do whatever I have to do to get them what they need. You know.
So, what are some of those things that you look at? Is it, is it just strict money? Is it how the organization can help grow your team, help support your team, through resources? What are some of the things you consider when making that choice?
I mean, basic things are monetary support, obviously. Monetary support, how's the boot camp like? How is the org gonna help you in, like, for example, when you travel abroad and all that stuff? Like, these are three things, the basic three things. Other things are like, you have to check if the org is legit or not and all that stuff. Like, I can't go into detail, but so apart from the top top orgs in the country, which Revenant is obviously, there were like a lot of shady orgs also which contacted these guys when I wasn't around. So
Gotcha.
these guys were about to get scammed, but luckily I came in the right time, so we didn't get stuck in a, you know,
Well,
I don't
that's
know if I can use the word fucked up, but in a fucked up place. So
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're able to step in and help. Like I said, I mean, with the growth of esports and what I've kind of heard some people call banner esports, right? Where it's Twitter banners and Flare and stuff like that. There's a lot of suspect opportunities out there that are trying to leverage kids' talents that might not know any better. So, Mr. Crowley, I'm glad you were there for your particular squad and help them leash them along to Revenant Esports. It really seems like you've kind of taken we'll say the paternal figure of this team and kind of lead it not only as a player with your skill set, but also kind of as a dad and helping the decision making a little bit. Is that a fair statement?
yeah, it's more or less like that only. Like, it's very accurate.
Perfect. So does that mean you're the shot caller in game and stuff like that? Really making the moves, kind of making those big macro calls.
Yep, most of the time. Unless there's someone cross calling, it's my call,
Okay.
which people follow. Sometimes people do cross call, obviously, like if the jungler is like level 14, 13 earlier in the game, he feels like he wants to fight like Dragon Knight level 13, 14, 5 minutes in, 4 minutes in. He's feeling strong, he ults into tier 2, gets everyone killed, happens.
Yeah.
Everyone, it happens. I do that sometimes to have nine tails. I get level 8 before like even the dread spawns sometime. I'm feeling strong, let's tower time, and I like fuck it up for everyone, happens.
Well, don't pull any punches. I mean, well, that's the nature of a team game, right? You got to trust with the wins, and you got to trust with the losses too. And as long as you're falling as 5, you're gonna win as 5, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I have to give it to my team. Like, whenever someone plays bad, like, people have a very good way of digesting it. Like, people are not toxic over here
Well,
for some reason.
I mean,
It's
that's
very good.
that helps boost up the longevity. What is so you guys qualified for Worlds, of course. We know that. I've said it a bunch of times, but it needs to be harped on because it's really important. Mr. Crowley, how you leading the charge under the Revenant eSports banner with these 4 other, now with a sub, 5 other players that have not been in this position? How are you getting them ready? How are you helping them get ready for this big time, big opportunity with all that money on the line here in London in about a month?
So, the funny story is, like, I've played like a gazillion lands in my esports career,
That's
right?
a good
So,
number. A gazillion is a good number.
I'm not even kidding. Like 25, 30 of those lands are international lands. So, like land pressure for me is non-existent for sure. But these guys, people, they have their first LAN experience. They're like, oh wow, this is a LAN tournament. But
Hmm.
for these guys, this is their first LAN is directly the biggest tournament in the game. So, so it's yeah. I've told them like you have to be calm and all. And from what I've like researched on other players, I think a lot of the players are also playing their first LAN in Pokemon Unite
Yep.
in Worlds. So I think it'll be even on many grounds. But mainly we have to see that how our meta works against other metas. We know our meta works against C teams, and more or less both of our metas are quite similar
Okay.
because we keep playing each other in rank also. But I see Japanese teams, I see EU, they're like very strong. I think EU, like random gaming, I don't know what they're called right now, but they're like really good at the game.
Yeah, Nouns Esports. They've gone through more
None.
name changes than I can even
Yeah,
keep
yeah,
track. It was Random Gaming, then it was Claps Random Esports, and now it's Nouns
yeah. I
Esports.
also lost track because of that.
Jeez,
And
I mean, when I was sitting in the booth and every time I'd get ready to cast a tournament and we'd get like a little piece of paper slide across the desk, hey, their name changed again. I'm like, come on. And you know you're going to be casting them because they're one of the best teams in EU. So it's like, okay, let's try and get one of the names right here.
yeah, must be like a nightmare for casting.
There's some pretty nightmare names and team names out there that throw us for a loop for sure. Mr. Crowley, you think you're going to be a parity at the land level just because of experience. Maybe you even have an edge because you have had that many large international lands, and maybe just your calming presence because you're used to being there or you've been in that situation before it will ripple through their team. You said you've done some research on some other regions. Where do you think India stacks up? I mean, people have had the least exposure to your region as compared to all the other ones. So you tell me, from the insider looking out, how do you feel about your squad's chances?
I feel like a top 6, to be honest.
Top 6?
Yeah, I feel like a top 6 because I think people don't know how we play, which can be advantageous to us, but at the same time, I have new players who are not used to the environment. So I'll have to see how day one goes, to be honest, to comment any further.
Okay. Hey, that's a pretty sound answer for being 1 month out. I'm not going to lie. Mr. Crowley, next question. What is the boot camping situation like? Are you guys going to be traveling to somewhere else in the world? Or are you going to be getting together and playing in India? What does that look like for the squad?
So all of us are from Mumbai, India only, and our boot camp is also in Mumbai. We are waiting for Pokemon boys to send us invitation letters, and after we start a visa process, we'll go and boot camp. Right now, we're just playing online, playing some rank, figuring out what the meta is. We're not really sure what the meta is right now. Wherever I walk in the map, Absol just kills me with 2 buttons. So I'm not sure what's happening in the game right now. So it's kind of weird.
It's the Absol show without a
Mm,
doubt.
yeah.
That is for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
Is there any concern with it just being a month away and Still not sure if you're going to be boot camping or the visa situation. Is there any concerns there, or is that kind of out of sight, out of mind?
So documents from our side is ready. We're just waiting for Pokemon to send everything, and I think we have ample time. Like it takes us about 2 weeks, and we have to reach London on the 18th. So our tickets and everything are booked.
Okay.
After we get the invitation letter, we should be good to go. I
Okay.
think in about 2 weeks we should be getting our visas done.
Okay.
Visa should not be a problem, but just to be safe, we'll apply in the best possible ways. Hopefully.
Okay. That's good to hear. I'd hate for something silly like semantic paperwork BS to be the reason why the world doesn't get to
Right.
experience Revenant eSports and Mr. Crowley. Okay. I kind of beat the brakes off you. I mean, we're doing pretty good out here in time. We've ripped through a lot of information. What do you think the potential future for Pokemon Unite holds? Do you think it's on an upward trajectory? Do you think it's kind of flatlining? Do you think it'll fall off after Worlds? What is your gut feeling about the game now that you're kind of playing at the highest competitive level?
I think it's not flatlining; it's growing for sure. But I think from a competitive point of view, I think there should be a lot of changes to the game. I mean, the fluke factor of the game is too high. I mean, it should be there. The comeback mechanics is good. Like, if there's no Zapdos in the game, like the team who wins early game just will win regardless. So Zapdos is necessary, but there should be some kind of balance in the game. Zap is too broken. It's what I feel.
Okay.
So from a competitive player perspective, I think if you're doing, if you're having like a world circuit in a game, I think you need a draft system in the game with like ban pick. And for like heroes, so like for Pokemon, I think people should like the Pokemon company should release more support heroes because the support players are just playing Hoopas in 6 months, and I feel bad for them for some reason. Rest every role have like 4 heroes they can like flex, and if they're bored of Lucario they can play Serena, if they're bored of Serena they can play Machamp. I feel so bad for support players, they just have to give Portal all day. It's so sad.
From one jail to another, from Eldegoss jail to Hoopa jail.
Yep.
You moved offices. It was fun for about 11 seconds, but then you're pretty much locked in.
I'm telling you, bro, I forgot how to walk to other lanes. I just need my Portal now. If Hoopa goes out of meta, I think I'll be a bad player now.
It'll certainly take. I think it'll take the whole planet some time to adjust without having those portals to bring everybody down. That
I
goes
think the
without saying.
attacker won't reach Rotom, I think. After Hoopa gets nerfed.
I'll tell you what, the rotation skills are going to have to be relearned without a doubt if Hoopa bites the dust or if it gets nerfed in some sort of substantial way. How do you control? You mentioned Zapdos a little bit. I think it's pretty obvious how pick bans, a draft system, will help the competitive scene. But what's just maybe a quick hit idea on how Zapdos can be tuned to still be in the game, but have maybe less of a volatile impact?
Hard question, but right on top of my head, I feel like the number of goals should be decreased, or the timer should be decreased, is what I feel.
Oh, like the Zapdos score timer?
No, like the zap should be respawning at the last 1 minute or something.
I got
Like
you. I got
something.
you. What if it was still spawned at 2 minutes, but like had way more HP or something like that?
True. I think that's a very good chain. Like people are bursting zap like Arduinos, like Fluffy Tail, that Blastoise Sylveon meta where people would kill zap in like 3 seconds or something. Like it's the zap, it's like a boss monster in the game. You should take some time to kill it.
It should at least take some time. At least take longer than first Dreadnought. Yes.
Like exactly, like if I'm the winning team, I'm protecting the pit. People are just like portaling in with Hoopa and then flipping the zap in front of me. I'm like, what do I do? Nowadays it's still playable because there's no like buddy barriers anymore. Before, like everyone's on full HP, they flip it and they just score in front of you. So
Buddy barriers were insane. That like those buddy barrier days were
I
absolutely
mean,
crazy.
Buddy Barrier Nerf has made the game better for sure. Like people are
I agree.
using different ideas. Like people were playing Assault Vest on Venusaur when Blastoise Beta was there. Now people are trying Rocky Helmet in front versus Absol, and like many things are happening. Let's see.
It's putting people to work. They have to figure out some ways around it, which is always good, right? It forces growth by doing that type of stuff. Mr. Crowley, I cannot thank you enough for taking time with me today. But before I let you go, I want to give you the floor. You can plug, shout out, whomever you want. I mean, lay it all out there. The floor is yours, my friend.
Uh, okay. Shout out to Revenant eSports. Follow them on Twitter at Revenant eSports, Instagram Revenant eSports. Follow me on Instagram, Mr. Crowley77, and Mr. Crowley Gaming on YouTube. That's it, I guess.
And do you have a Twitter? No Twitter?
I do have a Twitter, but it's inactive. It's Crowley over there also, but I'll start being active over there after I do good in worlds, I guess.
So on Twitter, is it just Crowley or is it Crowley77?
It's just Crowley.
Just Crowley. Nice. That's clean branding too. You got to get back on that. Okay. Mr. Crowley, I appreciate you taking the time. Congratulations again. You're going to Worlds representing India. Revenant eSports in the squad. Getting it done. But before I let everybody off the hook, I have to go through all the stuff I have to say, of course. Of course, right? So follow us on Twitter at Unite Mics. Follow me on Twitter at Doobsnacks, DOOBSNEX. Follow my PIC, partner in casting, at ZoinksCasts on Twitter. We're on Twitch, Unite Mics. That's easy to find. We have our emote initiative. If you Prime sub or subscribe to us on Twitch, you'll get all our cool emotes. And then every month we donate all the money that comes through to us. And we did pick up a sponsorship, freestyleusa.com. They make wristwatches and wristbands. I just get $15 wristbands for my wristwatch, and I think it's pretty awesome. So 10% off, use snacks, SNAX. That'll be in the link description as well. I'm done shilling. On behalf of Mr. Crowley, I'm Doob Snacks. Thank you so much for joining with Late Night Unite. Peace, love, and hugs. Be safe out there. Catch you next week.